A customer sent in 2 defective CPC4s for us to fix. I'm going to be walking you through our diagnostic and repair process for these. Unfortunately, they did not provide us with any details in terms of what was wrong with them. So our first step is going to be to bench test them and see what's going on. Okay, we've just connected our CPC4 into our bench testing system from AutoVey. We're going to go ahead and power it up. And then we're going to take a look at our software over here. Okay, we'll go ahead and connect. It's reading the ECU. Okay, and it looks like it has failed ECU communication error code 3.5. So that means that our CPC4 has a communication error.
Right now, it looks like it's only pulling about 0.2 amps. Usually on a good CPC4, we see around 0.25 amps drawn. So because it's not able to connect to our system and is also not drawing enough power, it confirms we have a fault with this unit.
Okay, we'll go ahead and connect in our second one. Same thing, let's connect. Okay, and this one is pulling 0.25 amps, so that is correct. That's what we're expecting. And it looks like it connected.
Looking at our fault code report, we have a total count of 9, and that's going to be both current and stored faults. Taking a closer look at the first one, it says 10A10 Common Powertrain Controller CPC Control Unit hardware fault, and if we look over at the status, it says it's a current fault. Our second failure is the voltage supply component accelerator pedal has short circuit to ground, and that also is current, which means that our customer is most likely experiencing a no throttle failure right now. The AP1 and AP2 we're going to skip over for now. That is because some of our sensors are not connected in. And then lastly, the internal temperature of component 10A10 Common Powertrain Controller CPC control unit is too high. That is also a current failure. So this does confirm to me our CPC4 is defective and does need to be repaired.
I'm going to go ahead and open them up and show you an easy way to diagnose these. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and flip the CPC4 up, and I'm going to use these metal spudgers to pry the outer shell away from the circuit board here. Do 3 on that side and 2 on this one. And then I'm going to go on the side over here now. And then our final side over here. And there we go. Now the shell falls off. We'll do the second one real quick. And this one, the customer, it looks like they actually damaged the outer shell a little bit, trying to open it up, which should be okay. I mean, it's not ideal, but okay, and then just to keep track, the one on the left over here is the no communication, and the one on the right is the one that had the communication, but it had the CPC hardware fault and the throttle pedal issue. Our quick diagnostic is going to be for us to heat up our processors, and we're going to be using a hot air station, but if you have a heat gun, that would work as well. So what we're going to do is turn it on. We're going to start with the CPC4 hardware fault and throttle issue over here, and I'm just heating that up for about 20 seconds or so. And I'm just heating up this processor here. Now again, this is not a repair. This is just for us to diagnose and confirm the exact fault with this CPC4. Now this is also something you can do if your truck is currently broken down on the side of the road, or it's in a bad spot and you need to just temporarily move it, is heating up this processor. This will allow the CPC4 to temporarily work, so you can at least move the truck to a better location, but then you will need to have it actually fixed or replaced. All right, let's bring this back over to our test station. We're gonna go ahead and connect again. Back to our fault codes, detect the control, read. Now, in theory, if what I'm saying is correct, our hardware fault should no longer be a current fault, but a stored fault.
So it looks like we still have a fault count of 9. However, if we look over here, this is now a stored fault.
So that does confirm that our hardware fault is due to this processor. Okay, let's go ahead and do the exact same thing with the other unit that had a communication issue. If you're only seeing some or partial improvement, then you could probably do a second round of hot air, but I wouldn't do too much more. Okay, and that's about 20 seconds. Let's go ahead and hook this one into our bench test as well. Now, if you recall, for this one, we were not pulling the 0.25 amps. We were only pulling 0.2 originally. So now it's a lot better. We're pulling the correct power, which is promising, and it is currently connecting. That's good. Let's go ahead and check out our fault codes on this one.
For this one, it looks like we have a total fault count of 16, so it has more faults. And we do have our common powertrain unit hardware fault, which is current despite our heating. So it looks like this one may have a more severe failure. There is one more thing I do want to point out as well, is that we have an incompatibility between hardware and software. And even though that is a stored fault, what this means is that this unit may have to be reflashed post-repair.
If you're interested in sending in your CPC4 for us to fix, we'll have links to our website and flat rate repair services, and that'll that'll be in the description down below. All of our repairs do come with a 1-year warranty. Some of the information I've been providing you so far technically isn't true. I've been saying that this processor over here is defective or is faulty, when in fact it's actually in perfect condition and has no problems. The issue is the solder balls that connect it to the circuit board. Over time, those solder balls deteriorate in quality, they develop cracked solder joints, and the data going from the processor to the rest of the circuit board can no longer flow through. So that's what we're going to be repairing today. Now, in order for us to be able to replace all of that solder between the processor and the circuit board, we first need to remove the conformal coating. Now, that conformal coating is that glossy surface that is essentially weatherproofing this circuit board. In order to do this, I'm going to have to dunk this circuit board into some chemicals, but in order to do that safely, I'm going to have to remove this lithium-ion battery that is soldered onto the board. So to remove the battery, we're going to desolder 3 joints. And again, this is completely coated in conformal coating, so I have to burn through it a little bit first. And we have a 3rd pin over here. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and use the desolder wick to remove some of that extra solder I added and some of that original solder. All right, and it looks like we have a nice clean joint now. Now these two at the bottom I didn't do a very good job, so we're going to go ahead and clean it off a little bit. I'm just using a toothbrush and isopropyl alcohol. And I think part of the problem is I didn't really quite remove all of the conformal coatings, so my soldering iron is not making good contact with the solder itself. So to rectify that, I'm gonna just add another round of solder. Yeah, there we go. That looks a lot better. All right, let's try that one more time. And I think part of the problem is that there's some solder that's on the top side of the board. So if I can't get all of the solder out, we're gonna flip the board over and take a look at the front. All right, I'm trying to give you a good angle. Let's see. Yeah, we definitely got a little bit of solder off here. Okay, now that we've desoldered the battery, we can go ahead and pry it off. Now it is gonna be stuck with that conformal coating, so it's not gonna be a clean lift. We're gonna have to give it a little bit of muscle. Okay, and here we go. It is now removed from the board. I'm gonna do this one off screen and then we'll start with our chemical bath. So I'm gonna be using an ultrasonic cleaner. Now I'm not actually gonna be using the ultrasonic cleaner feature, but just the fact that it's a metal bin. And we're gonna go ahead and put our board in our conformal coating remover. Now there are a lot of fumes and this thing does evaporate, so we'll cover it up. And usually you do wanna do this in a very well ventilated space because you don't wanna be breathing this in. We'll let it sit for about 45 minutes to an hour and then come back and check in on it. All right, it's been about an hour or so. Let's take a look. And you can tell that a lot of the conformal coating is starting to just peel off by itself. And then just a heads up, I'm using a very specialized purpose-built 4-circuit boards boar's hair brush. And we're just gonna brush some of this conformal coating off. And we wanna be gentle. We don't wanna knock off any smaller components. Now, the important part for this cleaning is we want to make sure that all of our solder joints are no longer covered by the conformal coating. And that's because in order for us to reball this processor chip, we're going to need to use our Rework machine, which is going to get this whole board at extremely high temperatures. When that happens, we're going to get some expansion on those solder balls. And if they're trapped under conformal coating, they're actually going to explode. And that could cause damage to the board. So the board doesn't technically need to be 100% cleaned, but we need to make sure that at least all of the solder joints are no longer covered. All right, let's take a look at the back now. So the back looks like some of the conformal coating is a little bit more resilient, so we might have to give it another dunk here. Okay, and as you can tell, a lot of the conformal coating is now at the bottom of our tank, but we still have a good amount left on the PCB. So we're gonna go ahead and dunk it for another 45 minutes or so, and then we're gonna come back and scrub it again. Okay, the circuit board's been soaking again for quite a while. Let's give it another scrub and see what we get. And actually, I'm making a decent amount of progress here. Again, you don't want to scrub too hard. Otherwise you risk knocking off components, and that's gonna be a whole different ball game of problems. Okay, and it looks like we almost got 100% off. We're at about 80 to 90% off, and I think that's gonna be good enough. So we're gonna call it good here. We're gonna give it an isopropyl alcohol bath to clean off some of the residual chemicals, and then we'll go ahead and put it on our machine for repair. We've connected our CPC4 back into our bench testing system. We'll go ahead and connect. And we're getting the correct power draw. Now this one is the one that was connecting originally, but we had an active fault. So let's see if that hardware fault is still active. And we did leave the CPC4 plenty of time to cool down so that we would not get a false positive. And it looks like our powertrain controller hardware fault is stored. Now the same goes with the pedal value sensor is faulty, and the accelerator pedal has short circuit to ground. All of those are now stored. Because all of those faults were active before the repair and they are now stored post-repair, that does confirm that we have successfully fixed this CPC4. Now that the CPC4 is confirmed to be fully functional and fixed, we're going to reinstall our battery, and then we're going to add a fresh layer of conformal coating to weatherproof the CPC4 unit. So taking a look at our solder joints, I do have a little bit of leftover solder in a couple of them. So before we put the battery back in, we're going to clean that up. And I'm using one hand to hold the battery from the bottom. All right, and then we're going to touch up some of these joints again. All right, we'll give it a quick final clean. All right, and now that fresh coat of conformal coating. Okay, and this is the final product with the conformal coating layer on it. And it looks pretty good. So that does complete the repair of both CPC4s. If you're interested in sending in yours for us to fix, we'll have links to our website in the description below. We offer flat rate services for these units, which always come with a 1-year warranty. If you have any questions or want to reach out, we'll also have our contact information again in the description below. If you found the video helpful or useful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and thank you for watching.